Okay, great. Hi everyone, welcome to the 11 Plus Exam Parents Workshop. Thank you so much for all of you that have joined. Hopefully in this workshop, we can give you more information on what the 11 Plus exam actually is and how you can help your child at home prepare well and revise well. So it will be a very interactive hands-on session, and we will also have a few workshop segments with myself and my team. Okay, so on this webinar, I'm Ishita. I'm an English expert here at SchoolUniGuide. Along with me, I also have Sneharsh and Akanksha. Sneharsh is the maths expert at SchoolUniGuide, and Akanksha is the VR verbal reasoning expert as well. So, without further ado, let's get started. So the key objectives. First, we will start by understanding what the 11 plus actually is, what the 11 plus exam entails, and what are the core subjects that you need to be well prepared for. We will also analyze the key exam boards that are used, particularly for grammar schools and independent schools. And then we will move on to the workshop segment, where we will look at the top 5 challenging topics within the 11 plus English, maths and verbal reasoning exam. And we will also provide you with our expert curated preparation tips and strategies. And lastly, we will also answer some of your key questions that we always get. So we will see how you can identify your child's weak areas and how you can also select the best school for your child. So what is the 11 plus exam? I'm sure many of you parents that have already joined definitely know about this, but for those that don't, the 11 plus exam is an exam that's used by both grammar and independent schools here in the UK, and is part of their selective admissions criteria for entrance into year 7. So typically this exam is sat by students when they're in year 5, so in primary school at the end. And the exam time kind of depending on the school you're interested in. So if you are looking to send your child to a grammar school, for example, the exam time frame for this will be in September of this year, so September 2025. So if you are looking to prepare for that time, I definitely recommend starting as soon as possible. However, if you are looking to send your child to an independent school, these exams will happen in the beginning of January 2026. So the coming year. So there's various different types of exam boards. Particularly, we will be looking at the grammar schools. So within grammar schools, the top main exam board is GL. So this is Granada Learning. And this exam board is used by most of the schools here in the UK. So as we can see by this lovely pie chart, 88% of schools use the Granada Learning style of board. After that, we also have the CSSE. So this is the Consortium of Selective Schools in Essex. And as you can infer from the name itself, this is typically for those students that are looking for schools within the Essex region. This is the second most common. It's used by 6% of schools. And lastly, we have the SET, which is the Selective Eligibility Test, and the FSCE, Future Stories Community Enterprise. And this is only used by 8 schools in total. So definitely be a lookout for those if those are the ones you are interested in. And for independent schools, they follow a completely different board. So they use the ISEB board. We will also be having another webinar for independent schools separately. And many of them also conduct their own internal exams. So that's a little bit about the different types of exam boards. Moving on to 11 plus exam subjects. So there's 4 main subjects within the 11 plus exam. This is English, mathematics, verbal reasoning, and non-verbal reasoning. So typically when your child will sit the 11 plus exam, these are the main exam subjects that they will encounter. However, it's really important that you also check the particular school's official website, just to confirm that these are the subjects chosen, as well as the exam board, because sometimes depending on school to school, it can definitely differ. For example, some schools may choose to omit typically verbal reasoning or non-verbal reasoning and only stick to English and mathematics. So definitely check the official website for that. Yep. Yes, so now we will move on to the fun part, which is the workshop segment of this webinar. As I mentioned, I'm Ishita. I'm also an 11 plus English consultant, and I have experience teaching students across all the boards for grammar and independent schools, so GL, CEM, CSSE, SET, as well as the ISEB. I myself have also gone to an independent school, so I did sit my 11 plus many years ago. I went to City of London School for Girls, and I've done my undergrad from the Loughborough Business School. So we will be looking at the top 5 challenging 11 plus English topics and what are our tips for these. So to do this workshop, first off, we will look at a typical question that your child will encounter within the comprehension. So the comprehension is one subset of the overall English exam. And here we have the question. In the second half of paragraph 2, the narrator tells us about Arshini's feelings about who is looking after her. How does Arshini feel about staying with her aunt? Who do you think Arshini wants to take care of her and why? So within this question, what we call this typical question is an inference style of question within the comprehension section. So here, a lot of the times the question asks about a character's feeling. So again, as we look here, it's saying, how does Ashni feel about staying with her aunt? So in order to tackle this question, you need to kind of probe your child to read in between the lines and look out for any clues that are mentioned within the text. So for example, here, it won't explicitly tell you that Arshini is nervous. However, it may imply that she's nervous by saying Arshini was shivering before she met her aunt, or Arshini was quivering. So these kind of words or actions definitely do imply, feelings of anxiety, anxiousness that Arshini is experiencing. So again, to tackle these questions at home and when you're going through preparation, ask what's really going on here. What do you think Arshini is feeling? Why do you think the character is acting in a certain way? And also, if we look at the marks, typically if it's a 1-mark question, you will only need to write 1 or 2 words. For 2 marks, a bit more elaborative answer will be needed. So maybe a sentence or 2. And again, the question actually helps the student out here. So it says in the second half of paragraph 2. So always go back to the passage and there critically think whether what Arshini is feeling and what she isn't. Okay. So the next part of the English exam is the creative writing section. Now, the creative writing section typically follows on from the comprehension. So once the child has completed answering the questions within the comprehension, they will give them a little extract which follows on from the main story they were presented, and they will tell you to complete the story. So here we can look at one of the extracts. I won't read everything, but we can look at the last few lines. So here it says, "The silence was deafening. The truth sank down like lead. Mrs. Spinton had locked them in the library, the only windowless room in the house. Sarah and Michael were prisoners in their own home." So again, as we can see from the ending of this extract, it's definitely creating an ominous, a daunting atmosphere, particularly in terms of what these Sarah and Michael are feeling. We can understand this by saying prisoners in their own home, windowless room, the silence was deafening. There's a lot of feelings of fright and negative connotations at the end of this paragraph. So again, when we do start by writing our creative writing, it's really important that you flow from what the extract has given you. And one way to do this is definitely by planning. A key aspect of writing a good essay is definitely in the plan. So if your child is being given around 30 minutes to spend on the creative writing section, it's really important that they spend 5 of those minutes in the plan and 5 of those minutes proofreading their own work. Now, this is an example plan that you can do. Always start by writing beginning, middle, and end. This helps you section out your writing, and it really helps you tackle the question and the writing in the best way possible. So for example, typically in the beginning, you want to capture the reader, the examiner's attention. So always start with a very compelling opening. In the middle, we particularly advise to create a build-up, or what we call a climax. So this should be the peak of your writing, and it's really important you spend most of your time within this section. Always give around 2 to 3 paragraphs for this section. And to really wow the examiner, you can also encourage your child to come up with a plot twist within their own story. So something that changes the trajectory of their writing. And lastly, the ending. So this is where you want to bring your whole story all together, and to really differentiate from an average student to what we call a scholar student is by having a cliffhanger ending. So this is a type of ending that really, again, captures the reader, the examiner's attention, and makes them want to read more. Okay, so another part of the English examination is testing the child's grammar and literary devices techniques. So here we can see an example. What type of words are hard-eyed, evil, and sharp? Now you'll be given different types of options. This is a multiple choice question. So particularly for this question, your child really needs to be well versed on their grammar and literary devices, such as similes, metaphors, as well as grammar devices like adjectives, nouns, verbs, etc., etc. And this essentially can't really be taught. So you definitely need the knowledge for this, and you need to be able to answer this question straight away. However, if in the unfortunate incident that your child is stuck on a question like this is where our tips will help. So for example, if you are unsure what the answer is, well, you can kind of decipher hard-eyed, evil, and sharp. Yes, they do have similar connotations. They're quite negative. However, are they synonyms? Well, evil doesn't necessarily mean sharp, and it doesn't mean hard-eyed. So in this case, if you were unsure, you would eliminate the option E of synonyms, because they don't mean the same thing. Now, option D, if we look at prefixes, well, hard-eyed definitely does have a prefix, which is hard. However, evil and sharp do not. So again, you can eliminate this. Again, are they doing words? So is evil, sharp, and hard-eyed in action? Well, no, it's not. So we can eliminate verbs. So similarly, if your child is stuck, which can often be the case, because again, no child will get all the answers 100% correct unless they are a genius. So for this, definitely use the process of elimination, and hopefully by that you will come to the right answer, which in this case is adjectives A. Okay, so next question that your child will be tested on is called vocabulary in context. So again, similar to the previous style of question, this really does rely on your own child's personal knowledge bank. So in this case, it's for vocabulary. And one way to build your vocabulary is by keeping a vocabulary journal. Now, you as a parent, it's your responsibility that your child is definitely doing their readings, and they are definitely outlining what words they find difficult, what are the challenging words, and adding them by hand to a vocabulary journal. It's really important not only to write their meanings, but also different types of examples. Now, this gives you a more contextual understanding of that particular words. And it's also your duty as a parent to constantly add new words, as well as review previous words as well, and to quiz them in order to reinforce their usage. Now, for the tip section, if your child unfortunately is confused by this question, a great tip would be to break the word down. So, indistinctly. Now, you've been given 4 options and you're not too sure what it could be. You're not too sure of the word. But you might know the word distinct within this. So, indistinctly and distinct. If you know that distinct is clearly or particular, you can kind of critically allow your child to think and identify, well, a lot of words such as acceptable have antonyms such as unacceptable. Similarly, distinct could have the antonym of indistinctly. And based on this, you will be able to identify, well, if distinct means clear and particular, then the opposite will definitely be vague. So in this case, it would be the answer B, vaguely. So this is one way you can tackle tricky vocabulary questions. Now, another key area in order to gain the top marks within the 11 plus English exam is by having a huge amount of reading under your radar. So, expose your child to a variety of reading materials. This can be both fiction, non-fiction, and news articles. So I know a lot of children currently, they love fiction, they love their, Jacqueline Wilson, Diary for Wimpy Kid. So they're all great for entertainment. However, it's really important that your reading is very diverse. So definitely spend a lot of time reading non-fiction as well as news articles from the Times, the Independent. Yes, they are difficult, but this will really differentiate the average student from what we call, again, a scholar student. And you can do this by any means. If you have subscriptions for certain newspapers, definitely allow your child to read them. And our top reading recommendations. So we've also given a reading recommendations list, as you can see on the screen here. So examples are Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, and A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Now, these are the classics, and classics for a reason, because they are definitely used within the 11 plus comprehension style of questions. So a lot of the times they do use the extracts from these books in order to test your child. So definitely have a good read at a handful of these for sure. So yes, that's it from me. I will now pass it on to Sneharsh, who will do the maths workshop. Thank you.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you, Ishita, for that very in-depth description of 11 plus English alongside the topics covered. So I'm Sneharsh, and I have more than 300 plus hours of tutoring experience for over more than 5 years, and this has helped me analyze and derive key strategies and requirements which are required for the children to tackle 11 plus exams, in particularly within the math section. So we will be looking out for the top 5 challenging 11 plus maths topics and try to ideate what are the key things which and the key skills which are being tested for your child across different topics and questions. So here we have the very first topic. It's termed as algebra-based word problem. Now, in these type of problems, there are very key steps involved. One is your child needs to be very good at simplifying expressions, to be very good with these variables x, y, a, b, c, since this is the first time they will be looking for all of this. Alongside, they should also have the ability to use the word statements to create the expressions and the equations. Now, this is somewhat a challenging task, but if done structurally and methodologically, it appears to be very simple. Like in this question, we are given a 100 centimeter long row. It's divided into 3 different sized lengths. Now we got the shortest one, the middle one, and the longest one. We can also see a comparison given in the question. They say the longest is 20 centimeter longer than the middle. Shortest is 10 centimeters shorter than the middle. Now, after carefully observing, we can see that the middle piece is compared with both the longest and the shorter one. So what we can do is, we can take a middle piece as, let's say, m. Longest would be m plus 20, as it's greater by 20 centimeters. And shortest would be m minus 10. So what we have just done is, we had 3 unknowns, the lengths of different size of the ropes. We just assigned a variable, let's say assigned a letter to one missing element, and used it to get the relation between the other 2 missing ones. Now, all you need to do is combine these 3 expressions which you created and get an equation and solve it. So in this entire question, your child must know what these variables are, how to simplify the variables, alongside how to convert the word problem statement into a mathematical equation and solve. Well, for the initial time being, it appears to be too much, but yes, this is what is tested in algebra. Now, from the same algebra, we can see here simultaneous equations. Now, if we look at the question, they are given cows and birds, and they see that the total number of heads are 50, and there are total 150 legs. They haven't told us how many cows and birds are there. So just like the previous question, here again, your child should have the ability to form expressions. So here, if we say C for cow, and if we assign B for birds, if there are total number of heads, which is 50, that means C plus B is nothing but 50. So the ability to comprehend the statement and convert into a mathematical equation again plays a vital role over here. Now, we can similarly get another equation using the information of 150 legs, assuming cow has 4 legs and the birds has 2 legs. Again, equation needs to be created. But if you see, this problem has multiple choice questions. So in all of the GL exam, or let's say Bucks exam or Kent region exam, all these papers are multiple choice. So in this case, your child may not be required to solve the entire equation. All he can do is just form the equation, plug in the options and see which equations fits the best. So the essential tip over here is to create the equations and verify up with the options wherever applicable. Now let us see the third question type we have. Now this appears to be very simple at the beginning. It's called area of compound shapes. Compound shapes are basically shapes made up of more than one 2D shape or a combination. Now here, all it's asked is just to find the area of the remaining square section. What is happening is from a square has been folded and a triangular piece has been cut out. So a student would instinctively just calculate the area of the square, subtract it from the area of triangle and get the final answer. But surprisingly, that's not correct. What happens is when you fold the square sheet and when you try to cut out the triangular part from it, you are actually cutting 2 triangular pieces and not just one. The reason is when you fold the square sheet, you will get 2 layers of papers, and after cutting from the one face, you will be getting 2 triangular pieces. So your child should be very keen in identifying what given information is present in the question and what exactly needs to be figured out and how it should be figured out. So it's always a very good tip to always underline the key important things like what is given in the question and what is asked in the question to be consistent throughout the question, match the accuracy of what is required. Now let us see other question type. Now this geometry nets of solids, basically nets deals with the entire 3D shapes where your child may be able to use his visualizing skills to understand and also learn the properties of different types of 3D shapes. Well, there are simple shapes like cubes and cuboids, but nowadays in the exams, considering the examination standard, they have stopped asking very simple questions on cubes or cuboids. Instead, they have moved on to asking questions on pyramids and prisms. Now, in order to solve this question present on the screen, your child must know the main fundamental difference between a prism and a pyramid. Not only he must know the difference, but he should also be able to use that difference to count the properties of the shapes and derive that result to get the answer for this. So it involves a bunch of sections where your child needs to have a very clear concept across each stage. First is, what is the difference between the prism and the pyramid? Second is, how to get the properties of prisms and pyramids. By properties, what I mean is number of faces, number of vertices, number of edges, and then how those properties can be used to figure out and solve this question. Like over here, the only difference in prism and pyramid is prisms have 2 common faces. All the other faces are rectangular. Whereas in pyramid, it's basically a triangles. Pyramids are made of triangles joining to one common point, and it has just one base. So if we talk about a hexagonal pyramid, it will have one hexagon, and all the remaining 6 sides of the hexagon would have 6 corresponding triangles meeting at one point. So this hexagonal pyramid would have one hexagonal face plus 6 triangular faces, total making it 7 faces. So this is how you can use the difference of pyramids and prisms, ideate the properties and use it to derive the number of faces, edges, or the vertices. So these are all the club of things which your child must know in order to solve a given question. And considering the average time per question to be around 40 to 45 seconds, he must have a very good amount of practice of such questions as well. And let us see the very last question type. Now, this is something which many of the parents are not even aware that the topic is covered. But the questions on slicing and painting of cubes has been frequently asked throughout numerous years in the 11 plus exams across independent schools and also the grammar schools. What happens in these questions is we are given a bigger cube, it's painted, and they say that it has been chopped into smaller cubes of equal size. In this case, we have this 6 times 6 times 6 cube. It is being chopped down into 1 times 1 times 1 cube, and it has also been painted. Now, the question is to identify how many smaller cubes are there with just one face painted. Now, if you don't know the logic behind this question, there's a full chance that you might get lost into it, ending up spending more time on the question and many a times not ending up getting the correct answer despite spending that time. So you must have a practice of these questions as well. The main trick over here is you don't need to work out or count how many such cubes are there, smaller cubes across the total complete bigger cube. All you need to do is just take one face of this bigger cube, identify how many smaller cubes are there with 1 centimeter cube, one side painted, and just times it by 6, because a cube has overall 6 faces. So again, there are various small tips and tricks which we can use across various different types of question problems, in particularly in mathematics, to ace up the 11 plus maths exam. Again, talking about maths, there are lots of topics, there are lots of questions involved, right from the numbers to the statistics. So stepwise, we need to ensure all the logics are covered, all the tips and tricks your child is aware of before aiming for the 11 plus exam. So that was a very small section from the maths end. Now, I would like to invite Akansha to similarly describe in brief about verbal reasoning.
Thank you, Sneharsh, and thank you everyone for joining. I'm Akanksha, and I would be walking you through the top tips that you need to follow for 11 plus verbal reasoning section. Over the last 6+ years, I've tutored hundreds of students, and I've helped them improve upon their reasoning skills with these tips. So now let's look at the first question, which is a codes related question. So the question reads like this. There are 4 words and 3 codes given below. Each code matches one of the words, but they are not written in the same order. One of the words does not have a code. Work out the correct code for each word and then answer the question that follows. So in this question, what we need to do is to decipher which word does 1, 2, 4, 3 stand for. So in order to do these questions, the main skill that the child needs to have is to be able to look for patterns or repetitions in the question which is given here. So for example, here you would see that there are a couple of letters which are repeating. So for example, you can see the letter T happens to be in the first position and happens to be in the third position in this particular word. And you can also see this similar pattern in these 2 options. So the number 3 is in the first position and the number 3 is in the third position. So with this, we would be able to decipher that the number 3 stands for the letter T. And with this, we would be able to check the options which are provided. So 1, 2, 4, 3 has 3 in the last option, which means that we should be able to figure out that the right answer to this question should have T in the last position, which in this case is the word silt. So with this, we wouldn't be required to figure out what does 1 stand for, what does 2 stand for. We can just check what does 3 stand for, and lo and behold, we have the answer. So these tricks, they really help the child solve the question much faster than their peers. Now, a second type of question is the making words related question. These questions are extremely common, and you would see multiple different variations of these questions. So the question reads as follows. In each of the following sentences, a 4-letter word is hidden between 2 words. The 2 words will always be next to each other. Find the pair of words and circle them in the option provided. So for example, they've given an example that the word that we can make with the and noise is then. So the way you're supposed to handle this is to just use permutations and combinations. You can start off with the first three letters and you can start off with basically the last three letters of the first word and the first letter of the second word. So we would get dido, which does not make sense. We can then try with the last two letters of the first word and the first two letters of the second word, which would give us edon, which again does not make sense. But with these combinations, having practiced such questions multiple times, your child would be able to quickly find out which possible words could be the answer. So for example, here they might first go ahead with maple, then obviously maple is not a word. We also have APLA, again not a word. But when we look at PLA and plan, it definitely is a word. So in order to be able to solve these questions much faster, one key trick, I would say, is to start off with the options. So as you can see, we only have 5 options here. But had we started off with the question, we would have had to check for 12 different combinations. So if you start off with the options first, you would not have to go through too many sets of words and you would be able to solve the question much faster. And at the same time, it's very important while the child is practicing, they read the words out loud, because that helps them comprehend whether the word is something that makes sense in a sentence. Now, the next type of question are questions related to VR maths. So here's an example. Find the number that continues the sequence in the most sensible way and write it in the space given below. So for example, here we have 12, 25, 51, and 103. In the question, we have 105, 27, 95, 47, and so on. So in order to be able to solve these questions, you need to check for patterns in consecutive numbers or alternate numbers. So for example, in this case, we can see a pattern in consecutive numbers. So 12 times 2 is 24, add 1 to it, you get 25. 25 times 2 is 50, add 1 to it, you get 51, and so on. Whereas in the question given here, you can see that there's an alternative approach. So 105 subtract 10, you get 95, subtract 10, you get 85. So the answer should be 75. And you would also see a similar pattern happening in the other digits as well. So the key to these types of questions is just practice as much as you can. And that's the way to improve your speed, accuracy, and get the knack for solving these types of questions. So with this, we have walked you guys through the main subjects, which are maths, English, and verbal reasoning. And now I would walk you through some of the best 11 plus exam preparation strategies that you should follow in your exam 11 plus journey. So the first and foremost thing is to focus on the overall 11 plus syllabus and concepts, and make sure that you're not restricting yourself to only questions which follow the exam pattern followed by the board. The reason why we suggest this is for 2 reasons. First is that in the past, we have seen that boards change the exam pattern that they follow in the middle of the year. So you might risk making your child too accustomed to specific types of questions and patterns. And if at all a new surprise springs upon them, they would not be able to handle those questions effectively. So for this reason, we always suggest that you start off with the entire syllabus, and only when you're inching closer to the exams should you go for the board specific questions. And the second reason why you should do this is for the overall development of the child's reasoning, maths, and English skills, because the learnings that they're doing as part of the 11 plus exam is going to stay with them forever through their secondary school, through 6th form. So it's extremely important that they understand the concepts in a very 360-degree all-rounded manner. The next suggestion from us is to practice multi-topic questions. So in order to help you understand what multi-topic questions are, we would quickly show you Pi Academy's 11 plus topic-wise questions. So these questions have been tagged through the various topics which are used to create this particular question. So a child needs to know the principles of multiplication, division, word problems, and numbers to be able to solve this question. And these questions happen to be slightly trickier because they need the child to remember the formula and the concepts of multiple topics. So make sure that you are solving questions which have a multi-topic approach. The next step is to carry out frequent revisions. And by frequent revisions, what we mean is to perhaps give the child a short quiz or a 10-minute test where they are made to recall the concepts that they learned in that particular week. So we can also help you with certain papers here. So you can head over to Pi Academy's website and check out the 11 plus revision and practice papers. Here you can see we have around 90 10-minute tests, and these tests are segregated topic-wise. So for example, if your child has finished 11 plus grammar conjunctions, you can give them this test and they can attempt a short quiz and check whether they have understood the concept properly or not. So revision is key. The next step is to start your mock exams just 3 months before the real exam date. So in this case, it would be around the month of June. We suggest not to start too early, because what happens is when you start too early, the child has not finished their concepts yet, and they might score low on the mocks and they might feel demotivated. So we suggest that you start 3 months before the real exam date. And more importantly, it's more important to focus on building your child's weak areas rather than attempting too many mocks. So without building their weak areas, they would keep repeating the same types of mistakes across all mocks, and it wouldn't really help them in the long run. So this brings us to the question, how do I find my child's weak areas? So in order to do this, what you can do is give your child a full-length paper and make sure that they're solving it under timed conditions. And once they've solved the paper, you can segregate the questions into the various topics in case you are solving a maths paper, or into the various skills in case you're solving an English paper. And then you can assess how the child has fared on each of these topics. So in order to give you an example of how Pi Academy does it, here is an example of the 11 plus assessment report of a child. And as you can see, the topics are segregated. The questions are segregated at a topic level. So you can see factors related questions, area and perimeter, probability, and so on. And at the same time, the tutor has also marked whether the child scored the question completely wrong or whether they got it partially wrong. So this way you would be able to prioritize the topics where you got the questions completely wrong. You know that those are concepts that the child has not understood yet, and partially wrong are the ones where they need to practice even more. We can also show you something similar, which is done in 11 plus English. So here you can see the questions are segregated by different types of questions, which are inference, or is it a question related to identifying explicit information? And with this, the child's attempt is marked against the model answer by the tutor. And something similar can be followed in creative writing. So when you are assessing various creative writing pieces, make sure that you are following a creative writing checklist. So as Ishita just spoke about this, a checklist should have a beginning, middle, and end. You should also check whether they have followed the right spelling, punctuation, and grammar, whether there was a structure to their creative writing piece, whether they used good vocabulary, whether they implemented language techniques, and so on. So this way you would be able to check exactly where the child is lacking, and it would help them create a very focused preparation. So right now, with approximately 5 months left for the 11 plus exams, we suggest that the child should be able to attain a score of around 70%. And in case you are looking to book a diagnostic assessment with Pi Academy, you can head over to the pricing section. And when you scroll down, you would see there is an 11 plus diagnostic assessment tab. So you can go ahead and book an assessment for your child from over here. I request our support team to share the link on the chat. So now that we have understood the various subjects, how to prepare, we now come to the main question, which is how to select the best school for my child. So the first step is definitely to take into consideration your financial commitment. So if you have the funds which allow for a private or an independent school education, go ahead with it, because it's a fantastic opportunity with lots of extracurricular and co-curricular opportunities. And at the same time, if you're looking for a more affordable options, grammar schools provide an excellent education for your child. At the same time, it's very important to check the school's oversubscription criteria. So for example, whether there's a waiting list, it's good to also check how oversubscribed the school was in the last multiple years to gauge how competitive or difficult it is going to be for your child to get into that school. And finally, it's always important to check catchment area, especially when it comes to grammar and state schools. And we would walk you through how you can do this on SchoolUniGuide. So this is SchoolUniGuide. This is our landing page. And here, as you can see, you can search, compare, and get advice on the various schools or exam preparation resources. So for example, if I am looking to gain admission into Tiffin School for Girls, I would just type the name of the school and select it from the drop-down. And it would give me the information page for this particular school. So I would be able to see the admissions process followed by the school. I would be able to see their various selection criteria for year 7, year 8, and 6th form. And I would also be able to see the catchment area details for this particular school. So as you can see, the page details out the postcodes from where you can expect to gain admission from. And we have also detailed out the oversubscription criteria of that school. So for example, Tiffin School for Girls was 137% oversubscribed. So essentially for one place, there were 1.37 students who were competing. And you can also check how the oversubscription has been changing over the past multiple years as well. On this page, you can also find the cohort sizes across the various years, the nature of crime around the school, because it's very important to take the child's safety into consideration, and also the pupil ethnicities. So this is where you can learn more about a particular school. And if in case you're looking for catchment area information, you can head over to the home page and click on See on Map. So we have created this catchment area and distance calculator tool, where you can click on the section here and input the name of the school that you're looking for. So if it's Tiffin Girls School, you write that down. And you can also write the postcode that you are looking or you're residing at. So this could be the postcode where you're currently living or the postcode where you plan to live eventually. And you can check whether the postcode lies within the school's last distance offered or not. You can check this using the catchment area tool. Now, having shown the catchment area, I would also show you a couple more features here. So you can click on tuition and you can check out the various tuition centers which reside near your house. You can hover on the name and check out their address and explore the various tuition centers. You can also explore the various clubs and estate agents and childminders around your house. Now, with this, we come to an end of the webinar, and I'm extremely thankful to all of you for joining us. We would like to give you a flat 25% off on the various guides that we have on SchoolUniGuide. So I would quickly show you through our 11 plus guides. If you navigate to the shop section and you click on guides and services, you would see that we have created the top 100 independent schools guide, the grammar school admissions guide, and the best catchment area relocation guide. And with the coupon code SUG25, you would be able to access a 25% discount on all these guides. I would quickly show you the contents of these guides and what exactly you would be able to unlock with these guides. So for example, with the independent schools guide, you would be able to get a deep introduction into independent schools. You would understand more about bursaries and scholarships and the top 25 questions that parents should ask on school open days. In the guide, we have also deep dived into various other aspects, most importantly being how to prepare for independent schools and also the 11 plus exam results checklist. We have also covered detailed profiles of each each of the top 100 independent schools, and you can simply click on the name of the school and it would take you to its internal page where you can read more about the history of the school, facilities, leavers destinations, and scholarships and bursaries provided. Similarly, we have also put together the grammar school guide, and in the grammar school guide, we have showcased a very detailed insight into 11 plus exam boards and the various formats which are available for 11 plus exams. We've also detailed out early preparation tips and a very deep dive into the grammar schools in Kent. And with the grammar schools as well, we have covered all the top grammar schools. And in case you're looking into understanding more about each grammar school, you can click on the name and check out their oversubscription criteria, extracurricular activities, catchment area details, and the leavers destination. And at the request of a lot of parents who are moving to the UK or are trying to relocate to an area which falls within the catchment area of the grammar or state school of their choice, we have put together the catchment area guide as well. Here we deep dive into what is a catchment area, how can you ensure that you fall within a school's catchment area, and there are also lots of tips on how to appeal a school's information in case a school's decision in case your child is not provided a place in the school. So with this, a very big thank you to all of you. We are giving a coupon code of 20, we are giving a 25% off on all the guides on SchoolUniGuide. So you can use this coupon code for 1 day. And at the same time, you can also use the coupon code SUG25 to get a 25% discount on Pi Academy's past papers and practice paper subscriptions as well. So with this, I request all of you to join us for the Q&A session. You can drop your questions in the chat box and Ishita, Sneharsh, and I would take over from there. So we request all parents to drop their questions. These questions could be related to the best 11 plus resources that you should be checking out at this point. It's currently the month of May. So with the May half term coming up, we have released the 11 plus May half term courses. So you can click on 11 plus courses on the mega menu and you would be shown the various mini half-term courses that we've released. So we have the GL Booster course, we have a Maths Booster course, we are covering geometry, verbal reasoning, algebra, fractions, statistics, comprehension and creative writing, non-verbal reasoning in the May half-term course. And if you're looking to understand more about each course, what are the topics covered, what exactly would the child be learning, you can click on the Book Now button. And we've detailed out the course structure, all the topics that we would be covering. And just to mention, all our courses come with a final online mock examination. So once you register for the course, you can attend the classes, you would get your lecture notes, you would get your daily homework, and you would get the final mock exam at the end of the course. So these are extremely great courses that you can use to ensure that the May half-term holidays are well spent. Similarly, you can check out the Maths Booster course, where we are covering all 11 plus Maths topics. And it's a one-shot capsule that the child can go through and make sure that their 11 plus Maths topics are well done. So any questions, please feel free to type it in the chat box and we will take it from there. So I got a message. Someone is asking whether we have GL specific papers. So yes, for example, if you hover on the mega menu on 11 plus papers, you would see the 11 plus practice papers. And when you click on that section, you would be able to see the various practice papers for all the main exam boards in the 11 plus. So we have Bucks, Kent, and we also have GL style Maths and English bundles. For those of you who are looking at CSSE bundles or SET, you can check out these as well. So yes, we do have GL specific practice papers. You can access it under the 11 plus papers mega menu and by clicking on the practice paper section. So San Azi has a question. Hi, can we find self-paced courses to help our child in our own time? Please guide me on how to navigate for those practice resources. So in case you're looking for courses that you can undertake in your own time, the 11 plus video courses would be the best option. So if you click on the mega menu here, you would get the 11 plus exam buster video courses. These are extremely detailed courses. They contain homeworks, puzzles, lots of past paper questions, and mock examinations. So for example, I'll quickly show you the comprehension mastery course. When I click on buy now, I would be taken to a page where the course details are mentioned. So here you can see you would be covering topics such as inference, close reading, literary devices, vocab and context. The child would also be learning about point, evidence, and explain, the PEE technique, which is extremely important. And as you can see, we've detailed out that there are 26 video lessons with lots of practice papers. And it's an extremely well-structured course with all the subtopics within 11 plus comprehension being covered. So depending on the topic that you're looking at, you could go ahead with the comprehension, creative writing, algebra advanced. We also have the algebra beginner course, geometry and fractions word problems. And you can also access all of this in one go with the all-in-one bundle, where you can get a 25% discount with the SUG25 coupon code. Roberta has a question. Do you have specific schools past papers? Yes, we definitely do. That is our forte, in fact. So if you hover on 11 plus papers and 11 plus max past papers, you would see that we have the actual past papers of the various schools. So for example, if you're looking to practice question papers of City of London, you can click on the question paper. This is free of cost. It's a free download. You can get the question paper for free. And you can also click on the solutions tab to check out the detailed solution for each question. So these are actual questions from exams conducted by schools. And at the same time, just to reiterate, the same questions are mentioned within 11 plus maths topic wise. So when you purchase 11 plus past papers, you get the 11 plus maths topic wise for free. It's a complimentary. These are complimentary products essentially. And the questions that you see here in the topic wise as well are actual questions which were asked by schools. So you can check out our 11 plus maths and English papers. We also have the English past papers listed here. So you can just click on the English papers and check out all the 11 plus past papers in English. So Jasroop has a very important question. How do you identify weak areas of kids, as my daughter's performance is not consistent and she does silly mistakes as well? So in my experience, the main, I would say, solution to silly mistakes is practice. So silly mistakes happen when the child is not habituated with the formula or the concepts that they're handling with. And the more practice that they undertake, the less silly mistakes they would make. And it's not a cause of concern. A lot of children do the same. And when it comes to finding the weak areas, as we spoke about our diagnostic assessment, it's something that you can either undertake on your own, or you can book our 11 plus diagnostic assessment from here. In case you're looking for a proper one-to-one tuition, you would be able to get the diagnostic assessment for free, post which we would be creating a very bespoke plan for the child, following which they would be able to practice for the 11 plus papers. So as I had mentioned, I'll quickly just walk you through the diagnostic assessment template again. So for example, here you can see in Maths, we have segregated each question into the various topics, and we have asked the child to attempt the paper. And then we have seen whether the child was able to perhaps get the question partially right, or were they absolutely not able to get the question correctly, in which case you would know that these are the topics that they are struggling a lot with. Perhaps word problems and factors are things that they are comfortable with, but decimals, fractions, and percentages, there perhaps is there still are a couple of concepts which they have not understood yet. So with this sample assessment report, which we will be sharing in the email, you can check out and understand how you can identify the child's weak areas. Deb has a question. Are the example problems shown today similar to the screening or second test? What are the differences between screening and second test in terms of difficulty? So the difficulty level is generally slightly harder in the second test. And also one has to keep in mind that there are different subjects which are asked in the test too. So it varies from school to school. It would be best for you to check out the official website of the school that you are targeting. And the difficulty level in general is slightly higher than the first test. Jasrup has a question. Also, do you have any vocab booster course or past papers? So yes, we do have vocabulary past papers. So if you hover on 11 plus papers, we have the 11 plus vocabulary. And over here, you would be able to check out all the various test papers. We've also segregated it by the various subtopics. So we have prefixes and suffixes, inference, close reading, questions that involve animals, plants, and food, senses, and so on. So these would be great ways. This would be a great resource for you to improve upon your vocabulary. And at the same time, you can also improve upon your vocabulary through our 11 plus comprehension course. So a major section of the course does deal with the vocabulary which is used within comprehension pieces. And you can also check out our creative writing course, because vocabulary is something that the child needs to be strong at in order to write a good creative writing piece. So here is the creative writing course. It's a 5-day course of approximately 7.5 hours. And these are all the various subtopics that we would be covering. And vocabulary would be covered indirectly through these topics. So you can check out the comprehension and creative writing courses. So Teja has a question. Do you have topic-wise tips, tricks, or shortcuts for Maths and English? So we did share a lot of tips today, and we do conduct our master classes. So you can head over to Pi Academy's YouTube channel, and you would see that we have covered in depth each of the main topics. So we've covered geometry, numbers, fractions. We've also done master classes in close reading and picture stimulus. So in these master classes, we've covered most of the main tips and tricks that you can follow for a more topic-wise approach. So I request our support team to share our YouTube channel link. All these master classes are free, so you can register it anytime you want. You can go over to our YouTube and go through the videos, and you would be able to see lots of tips in the topic-wise section.
Yes. Also, to add on to that, we also have 11 plus revision and practice papers, where for each topic we have detailed revision section along with the practice tips as well. So maybe Akansha, you can show those 11 plus revision and practice.
Yes. So here under 11 plus papers, you can see the 11 plus revision and practice, which are the short 10-minute tests that you can use for a more topic-wise revision. So here, for example, if you hover on 11 plus verbs revision section, if you hover on the word which is on the first column, you would be taken to a page which basically details out the tips for each topic. So for example, when it comes to verbs, there are lots of different tricks up our sleeve that you can go ahead and understand and learn. So yes, you can check out the 11 plus revision and practice, where you get revisions worksheets. You also get the 10-minute test and the answers to these 10-minute tests. Deborah has a question. Is diagnosis test free? My son did the exams and I didn't get the report. How can I locate the report? So in case you're talking about the 11 plus diagnostic assessment, this is a paid service where the student would be, where the tutor would essentially be sitting down with the student, checking their attempt and understanding whether they have done it correctly. In case you have booked an assessment, you can always get in touch with our team. And at the same time, we also have a free 11 plus Maths and English diagnostic assessment. So this is a free assessment for those of you who are looking for a free solution. I would share the link in the chat and you can use this to assess your child for free. It's an online assessment. So I've shared the chat in the link. You can always click it and check it out. So San has a question. Can we get the links separately in email or WhatsApp? Yes, you can get the links. We will be sharing all the presentations and all the links that we are showcasing here over email. So you would be getting it. We have a question from Soundarya. The number of maths topics and questions in maths topic wise seem to be way more than the maths syllabus. How do you cover all the topics in the remaining months? So that's a great question. And I understand where you're coming from. So the reason why you might be seeing lots of different topics over here is because these are questions from the past multiple years, at almost 7 to 8 years worth of questions. So with the syllabus varying here and there, we've collected a huge chunk of questions that you can see here. And if you're looking for the best approach to how you can cover all these topics in the remaining 5 months, for this, we have the free 5-month preparation plan for 11 plus. So we would be sharing that with you as well. And we would be sharing this with you over the email. So just you can check your email soon and check the planner out. Meanwhile, I can also walk you through the planner. So just give me 1 second. Yes. So here is the Aspire Academy's 11 plus exam 5-month preparation planner. So for example, we have detailed out the key topics. These are the main topics that you must practice before sitting the examination. So in maths, we've detailed out the topics that you should practice over the next 6 weeks. So it starts with numbers, fractions, ratios, geometry, statistics, and algebra. Similarly, we've broken down the subtopics for comprehension, vocabulary, SPAC, and creative writing. So what you can do is we would share this link with you, and you can just go over to the file section and download it into your system. And once you're done with the topic, you can just, have a completion check and make sure that you've highlighted that, yes, these particular topics have been covered. So in the first 6 weeks, in the next 6 weeks, we would recommend that you do a topic-wise and a skill-wise practice. Post that, we recommend that you start practicing the past papers. So we have a week-wise breakdown of the key past papers along with the difficulty levels. So as you can see in maths, we have the easy ones first, followed by the medium, and then followed by the hard papers. And this way you would be able to solve questions of all difficulty levels, and you would be extremely well practiced for the final exam. And then in the last leg of the race, which is week 16 to 22, you can then start the, you can say the exam board-wise practice. So depending on the board that you're looking for, it could be Granada Learning, which is GL. You could also be practicing for perhaps CEM. Perhaps you're applying for schools that also follows the CEM board. So in these last few weeks, you can start with the board specific practice. And this is where you would be able to get all the various practice papers for the boards which are out there. And finally, you can also start practicing the mock examinations. I would quickly show you where you can find the mocks on Pi Academy. So when you hover on the mega menu, we have the mock exams listed here. And here you can find mocks for Granada Learning, which is GL. We have mocks for CEM, ISCB, CAT4, and UK ICET tests as well. So you can check out the mocks in the last 2 to 3 months to go for the exam. So Reena has a question: how to improve speed, as my daughter is unable to complete the paper on time, especially maths. So Snehash, any tips for Reena?
Yes. So when we talk about improving the speed, there are two things to keep in mind. Firstly, is your child able to solve that particular question in the quickest possible way? So knowing all the tips and tricks, that is important. And secondly, how fluent is your child in that particular tips and tricks to be using it? So firstly, your child must know the best possible tips and tricks across each and every maths topic. And secondly, she should have a very thorough practice of it. Combination of both together would surely increase the speed. Yes. So that's how we can improve for the maths exam. So maybe a good couple of courses from the, or particularly for, let's say, algebra, geometry, followed up by a good consistent practice would surely improve the speed.
Yep.
Yes.
And I think we have a last question. In general, is the maths exam for grammar school easier than private school, GL style? So in my experience, the question papers that I've seen for grammar schools versus the past papers that we see for private schools, grammar schools happen to be slightly tougher. But at the same time, what we would suggest is that you practice all the different types of questions, be it from grammar schools or independent, or from whichever board, it could be GL, CEM, whichever. Practice various types of questions, because that is what would prepare your child to be able to overtake any question regardless of their difficulty level. Teja is asking, is there a link for the tips and tricks topic wise? So I would request our support team to kindly share the YouTube link where you can check out our masterclasses. And at the same time, I'm sharing our 11 plus exam revision papers with you, so you can check these out as well. So San has a great question. Is there a specific section to cover 11 plus exam preparation on your website, like an yearly plan or a monthly subscription? Yes, we do have monthly subscriptions, which are extremely beneficial. And we would quickly show that to you. And yes. So the monthly subscriptions that we have are the silver, the diamond, and the gold plan. And the best way to start is the gold plan. So in the gold plan, you would basically be getting a monthly access to our 11 plus weekend classes. So we run around 2.5 hours of class every Sunday. We cover maths, English, verbal and non-verbal reasoning in these 2.5 hours. And with the gold plan, you would be able to unlock all of these weekend classes. At the same time, you would also be getting the various past paper subscriptions. So there are around 30,000 questions when it comes to all the various papers. So this way you would be able to unlock all the papers in one go. You would also get the mock exams and the video courses with the gold plan. So I would suggest that you can try out the gold plan, and it would help you prepare better. So with this, we come to an end of the webinar. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And make sure that you use the coupon code SUG25 across both SchoolUniGuide and Pi Academy for an extra 25% off. And we really enjoyed having the webinar with you. Looking forward to having you with us in the next one as well. Thank you. Thank you, Ishita, and thank you, Snehash.
Thank you, guys.